All right, let's get started. We have a lot to talk about today, so let's get going. My name is Ann Avery, and I am the president of the Lincoln Parks Foundation Board of Directors. We want to thank you all for joining us today. We had a beautiful day, nicely organized. But I also want to especially thank our friends at Pioneers Park Nature Center for hosting us today. Andrea, where are you? Andrea is our director, and she's probably working on the details. But anyway, thank you very much to the Nature Center. We appreciate the hospitality. This is another great day for the Lincoln Parks Foundation and for the city of Lincoln. And so it's very fitting that we should be here in this beautiful location to celebrate and to take an opportunity to explore the Prairie. In a few minutes, we will announce several key developments related to the Prairie Corridor on Haynes Branch. And so we're really excited and glad that so many of our partners could be here today to help us celebrate and share the exciting news. So before we begin, I also want to say we do have a number of local elected officials in the city and in the county who've taken the time to join us today, and we appreciate you being here and thank you for your support. All right, so let's get started. I want to introduce Maggie Stuckey, who is the executive director of the Lincoln Parks Foundation. Maggie?
Thank you, Ann. Thank you all for being here today. 18 months ago, Lincoln was introduced to the Prairie Corridor Project, a vision for a continuous passage of tallgrass prairie extending from Pioneers Park Nature Center to Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center. This project actually has roots dating back to 1948, when a vision for parks along the Haynes Branch of Salt Creek was included in the city and county's first comprehensive plan. About 9 years ago, a group of passionate citizens came together, many of whom are with us today. They believed there was the potential for something even bigger. Today, we're grateful for their vision and their intuition. The Prairie Corridor on Haynes Branch will connect two community anchors with a tallgrass prairie trail corridor. It will extend to Conestoga State Recreation Area and link into Lincoln's nationally recognized trail network. The city, the Lower Platte South Natural Resources District, and Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center worked together to develop a plan to seek funding from the Nebraska Environmental Trust to implement this project. These efforts paved the way to work with landowners to purchase parcels and easements along the corridor, to initiate prairie restoration, and to begin construction of a trail. And in December of 2017, we kicked off a public outreach effort and fundraising campaign. And we announced our Prairie Corridor Cabinet, 16 passionate volunteer leaders to help guide our vision. Since then, there has been a whirlwind of progress, partnerships, and successes. Just last summer, our 9-member steering committee developed a fundraising strategy and donor materials to help us raise the nearly $22 million needed to complete this project. And in September, we started meeting with generous donors and others to share our vision. Since then, in only 9 months, the project has attracted nearly $2.2 million. That total includes a third Nebraska Environmental Trust grant, $900,000 over a 3-year period. The trust has been a key project partner from the very beginning. This third grant brings its total Prairie Corridor contribution to more than $2.5 million. We are so grateful for this support. This most recent success brings the total partnership funds raised to date for this project to $7 million, which is nearly 1/3 of our goal. This fundraising success has allowed us to add more than 950 additional acres to the 4,500 acres along the corridor that were already protected through conservation easements or public ownership. On the maps near the stage, you can see all the areas that have been conserved, in tan representing ownership, in green representing easements. We have also completed the first 2 segments of the trail here within Pioneers Park, protected more than 200 acres of virgin prairie, and reestablished tallgrass prairie on over 140 acres. As we move ahead, we are pleased to announce 2 additions to our Prairie Corridor Cabinet. Newly re-elected City Councilwoman Jane Raybold and Michelle Polk, Vice President of Community Outreach for the Lincoln Community Foundation. Councilwoman Raybold is an avid cyclist, a staunch Parks and Recreation Department supporter, and she will be an outstanding addition to our team. And Michelle Polk brings extensive experience in Lincoln's nonprofit sector, including fundraising and program administration. Will you join me in thanking Michelle and Jane for joining our cabinet? The foundation is grateful to all of the cabinet members, the steering committee members, and everyone who came out today. Thank you for your commitment to this project.
Thank you, Maggie, for sharing that exciting news. That was great. So next, I want to invite two of our project partners to say a few words. You know, 9 years ago, when the Prairie Corridor Project vision began to take shape, the NRD and the Spring Creek Prairie were right at the table, and they have been there ever since, with in-kind contributions and matching funds to help ensure the project's continued success. So today, we're going to hear from Liz Lang, who is chair-elect of the Spring Creek Prairie Stewardship Advisory Board. And then we'll invite Larry Ruth to the podium. Larry is chair of the Lower Platte South Natural Resources District Board of Directors. So Liz?
Thank you, Ann. I'm happy to be here today to represent the Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center as we gather in this beautiful and inspiring place to celebrate a visionary project that will live on for generations in our community. Spring Creek Prairie is proud to be a partner in the Prairie Corridor. We bring 850 acres of tall grass prairie to the project, which will create its southernmost ending point in Denton, just about 12 miles from here. Spring Creek is home to 222 bird species, 30 mammal species, more than 50 butterfly species, and over 370 prairie plants native to Nebraska. The corridor will create a tapestry of prairie habitat connecting Spring Creek to the Pioneers Park Nature Center. Through development of a strategic patchwork of tall grass in between. The Prairie Corridor will allow all of us to continue our conservation missions to protect grasslands, birds, and wildlife, and the tall grass prairie. We look forward to continuing to collaborate with the partners and private landowners who are working to support this remarkable prairie patchwork so that it can grow and thrive for birds, wildlife, and people. The Prairie Corridor will promote awareness, understanding, and stewardship of the natural environment by building on outstanding outreach and education already offered by both organizations. Last year, Spring Creek Prairie had more than 4,400 students attend our Prairie Immersion, summer camp, and school programs. And this year, we anticipate welcoming even more youngsters to the Prairie. We also have over 12,000 visitors, youth through adults, who visit us as part of other outreach and education programs, or to take in the trails and explore the prairie. Through these programs, people have the opportunity to connect with the prairie and with nature, creating memories and meaning in their lives. We believe Spring Creek's connection to the Prairie Corridor will only increase interest in our programs, and we are excited to develop even more partnerships to advance our collective conservation and education missions. Again, Spring Creek Prairie is so happy to be a part of this project, and thank you. And congratulations to all on the wonderful progress so far.
Well, it's a great privilege to celebrate where we are in this unfolding process of bringing this wonderful corridor into being. Yesterday, I wanted to see a little bit more about what we've been doing and go down to where Megan Sittler is from and all the other area in that area. And I traveled the back roads of the project. I was looking at parcels that were under conservation easements that we had entered into with the owners. I was looking at the public ownership pieces of parcels, and you can see those really well over here in some of the color-coded map. And those parcels are just waiting for the public to enjoy as a corridor full of opportunities for recreation and education. The NRD, and that's your NRD, is committed to preserving native prairies and has been working with landowners on prairie conservation for more than 15 years. And I saw Glenn Johnson come in a little while ago, and Glenn and Paul Zillig following him, the staff and the folks that have been on the board have been really excited about this project. This prairie corridor on Haynes Branch will give the public a chance to experience natural beauty, very close, and become better educated about its history and the environmental significance that it has. And of course, they'll benefit from the recreational trail connections that the corridor will offer. So we thank you, and we thank our partners, the City of Lincoln, led by Mayor Beitler, and the Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center. They're partners in our effort, and the many public and private entities who have collaborated on this amazing effort. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Liz and Larry. We appreciate your continued support and your leadership on this issue. So, it is my honor to introduce our next speaker. Chris Beitler has served the City of Lincoln for the past 12 years as our mayor, and prior to that, he served for 24 years representing Central Lincoln's District 28 in the Nebraska legislature. As mayor, his focus has been on uniting our community around key projects that are going to make a difference. And some of those include Pinnacle Bank Arena, development of the West Haymarket area, the sales tax bond issues for roads and for public safety, the Antelope Valley project, and the self-driving shuttle project. And now, more recently, the Prairie Corridor on Haynes Branch. Today, Lincoln is nationally recognized as a community that is innovative, partnership-driven, and on the move. Lincoln also has landed on several top 10 lists in recent years. You've probably heard about some of these, including some of the best places to find a job, retire, and to raise a family. So what have we learned? We've learned that the entire country now recognizes what we have always known about Lincoln, that it is a wonderful place to live and work and play. And that's why we love it here. 9 years ago, Mayor Beitler did what he does best. He convened community visionaries to discuss a big idea, the Prairie Corridor on Haynes Branch. And then he went to work. And the result has been $7 million raised, hundreds of acres protected, and several miles of trail already built. And perhaps most importantly, the community has come to love and believe in this legacy project. Mayor Beitler, please join us.
Thank you. Thank you. This is absolutely amazing. And I am so glad to see all your faces out there. This is the best project of them all, because this is going to be here when everything else that we've done is no longer here. And if we do this right, it's going to be, I think, incredibly satisfying to you all. Judy and I are delighted to be here today to thank you for all your interest and for being involved. We're excited to celebrate all the partnerships that have been formed around this and the community's success to date in moving the Haynes Branch project forward. It's been an honor to work with such an incredibly fine and visionary group of people, elected officials, landowners, community volunteers who share the passion for celebrating Nebraska's heritage while at the same time preserving opportunities for our children and our grandchildren to connect to the natural world. Those of us who came from the land should never forget the rural culture that whence came our values and our strength. My mother and father were raised in rural Richardson County, Nebraska. Dad's passed away, it seems like just yesterday. But my mom is here. She is here with all of her 93 years of wisdom, strength, and love. And after all this time, she still gets worked up about those rascal Democrats and what they're going to do next. She came down from Omaha with my kid brother, Eric, who is also here. Somehow, somewhere, he became responsible enough to fly these huge airplanes around the country for Delta. I think the Marines had something to do with that. And thank you, Eric, for bringing him on down today. I also want to extend a special thank you to the Parks and Recreation Department. Len Johnson's going to go down in history as the greatest parks director of all time in this city. Nicole Fleck-Tews and Sarah Hartzell have done an amazing, hard-working job keeping this project in front of the public and in front of the lawmakers and moving forward. I want to personally thank them also for their leadership. And there are people on the mayor's personal staff who connect with the Parks and Recreation Department as they connect with our other departments. Two of them who have worked hand in hand with the Parks and Recreation Department. First of all, Denise Pierce, a perceptive and tenacious organizer who, most importantly, always knew my heart and never allowed me to be blindsided by a lack of understanding of consequences. Thank you for that. And Rick Hoppe, my chief of staff for all these years, brilliant guy, whose artful reduction of my timeless philosophic idealism, reducing that to a, quote, set of present objectives that are doable at the present moment in time. That invaluable skill made this mayor both relevant and potent. Finally, I want to give a thank you to Maggie, who is a relatively new friend of ours and mine, to the Parks Foundation, to our partners at the NRD and Spring Creek Prairie, who you've heard from, and the game-changing Nebraska Environmental Trust, who is doing good things across this state, and especially for us. The folks here at Pioneers Park Nature Center, our Prairie Corridor cabinet members, and all the project supporters. This truly is probably the best team I've put together, we've put together, and I'm grateful for all the leadership and the vision and the willingness to do hard work that exists among this group of people. This is good work. This is important work. This is hard work. But as Teddy Roosevelt said a while ago, far and away the best prize that life has to offer is the chance to work hard at work worth doing. And I couldn't agree with that more, both with respect to my time as mayor, but also with our work on Haynes Branch specifically. This, my friends, is work worth doing. As we move forward, I will once again remind us that the Prairie Corridor is not a typical project in any way. It is different, it's special, it is a generational project that will take persistence and passion and, quite frankly, several more years to complete. It will take the patience of the sower. So as we stand here with our partners today, I know that we all have a great love for this place we call home, and from that, the heart to speed this project forward. We must not forget the people who struggled and suffered to build this wonderful place where we live. The values that sustain them are our heritage. The place that so challenged them is our place. We need to understand how they persevered, and we need to understand how the natural beauty of the original prairie lifted them and restored them through those frequent periods of severe hardship. On this prairie corridor, we can learn, and our children can learn about them and about ourselves, and reinforce anew the values that have distinguished us in this country. This prairie is first and foremost for the children and the grandchildren to better understand from whence they came and how we can be strong all together. So again, thank you so very much for being here today, and let's move it forward, right? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Beitler. Before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank you, Judy, for your partnership with Mayor Beitler in support of our community. We have seen the two of you at countless events over the past 12 years. We know that together you've given of your time and your talents so generously, and we know that your passion for Lincoln runs as deep, and our community is grateful. All right, so next I'm going to invite Michael Forsberg to the podium. I think most of us here know that Michael is a nationally recognized conservationist and photographer who also has given generously of his time and talents to serve as the chair of the Prairie Corridor Cabinet for the past 18 months. In that role, Michael has recruited some of us, encouraged many of us, and inspired all of us to think bigger and to do more. He has captured our imagination as to what this project truly can be, and we are taking action to make it happen. So, Michael?
Wow, there's a lot of people here. Feels good to sweat, actually, doesn't it, today? You know, I don't have much to say after Mayor Beitler and what he said. I know we recorded that, and those words are gonna stick with us for a very, very long time. Let me just add a few more things. Protecting prairie is a forever task, and this project is a legacy project. And legacy projects are only done in community. And it's a community that passes through space and time. We light a candle, we light a torch, and we pass it, you know, hand to hand, arm to arm, generation to generation. The Prairie Corridor on Haynes Branch is truly a community-led effort. And I am very, very proud to be a part of this community that values this precious resource, this place, this spirit, our home. So as we wrap up the press conference this afternoon, I have one last piece of news to pass along. I, along with my colleagues on the Prairie Corridor Cabinet, are very pleased to announce that Mayor Beitler has agreed to continue his work on this project as co-chair of this cabinet. Thank you. Did you know that, Judy? Okay, good. I thought you did. So in that role, we know that Mayor Beitler will do what he has done from the very beginning. He will bring people together, and he will do the work to make sure that the vision set forth almost a decade ago becomes a reality. He will continue to champion the Prairie Corridor and Haynes Branch project. Mayor Beitler, I'd like you to come up to the podium here for a second, please.
Somebody didn't tell me that.
So come on up. So I want to, on behalf of all of us, welcome you aboard, first of all. And secondly, as a gesture of appreciation, we have a small gift for you. I'd like you to open, if you could, for everybody.
Right.
I'll hold it. This is how I used to wrap my Christmas presents at home because I couldn't wrap at all. So here we go. Okay.
Oh.
This is a photograph that's become one of the main photographs that we've used for Prairie Corridor. And it's a bobcat photograph taken at Spring Creek Prairie.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Mayor Beitler, for your continued support of the Prairie Corridor project. So, as we look out over this beautiful place on the prairie, I'm going to end with a Willa Cather quote from O Pioneers. "The land belongs to the future. We come and go, but the land is always here. And the people who love it and understand it are the people who own it for a little while." So thank you, Lincoln and Lancaster County, for loving this land and for embracing the Prairie Corridor project. So I have a couple more final thank yous. We want to be sure to thank Blue Blood Brewing Company for creating a special beer to celebrate the Prairie Corridor project. That's cool. And we also want to thank our friends at Spring-O for providing water. We're going to be just as glad to have that this afternoon. And to all of our event partners for taking the time to be here to celebrate. Thanks to all of you for your patience this afternoon. With that, our project partners and I would be happy to answer any questions, everyone who was here. And if no questions, then let's get started on the festivities. I would like to ask the members of the Prairie Corridor Cabinet to join us up front for a photo, but please enjoy some food and refreshments. You are our guests. Thank you, everyone, for being here today.